Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's an honor again for me to be with you here at the Parts Aftermarket Congress, which has become a real institution here in Italy. So congratulations to the organizer and thank you for the invitation. I'm very honored to be with you. Like in the previous years, I bring you into another world, which is the political world in Brussels, and trying to inform you and give some heads up of what is coming around the corner for you and your businesses. Because, just for those who don't know FIGIEFA, we are the political representative of the independent parts distribution in Brussels. We are at present 19 national trade associations and the 5 international trade groups, which you see on the right side. And since always, our mission has been to engage and to fight for framework conditions for your business, for free competition, for a strong single market, and to ensure a European and international legal framework conditions for fair access to parts, tools, technical information data for your business. So what's the new setting in Brussels? And we have fresh information due to the new Brussels macro-political environment. On the one hand, the European elections have taken place, and on the other hand, there is the new European Commission, which will come into place. Number one, in the European Parliament, we still have a grand coalition between the Conservatives and the Social Democrats, the Socialists. But on the one hand, we have also more weakened partners like the Liberals or the Greens. So the Parliament is on this side more fragile. But we are confronted with a stronger conservative right-wing forces. For example, like the conservative and reformists, so the Fratelli Italia fraction, and there are big differences between the groups here. There are, on the other hand, the Patriots for Europe, so Salvini's, Lega, and the Rassemblement National in France. And the Europe of sovereign nations, this is the alternative for Germany, the extreme right from Germany. So big differences also amongst the conservative group. But it has an impact on the mindset in Brussels. In general, in the Parliament, the focus is more on industrial policy, defense, migration, and business interests overall. Now, we are also now with Commissioner von der Leyen's, President von der Leyen's, #2 term. On the one hand, we have a continuity in objectives. Decarbonization, digitalization is still on the agenda. But the focus will much more be on implementation and fine-tuning of agreed rules. Also, we sense, and it has been announced, a more pragmatic, business-friendly approach with a strong aim to improve Europe's competitiveness and to improve, in particular, the competitiveness for industrial champions. What does this mean? Who are the sources of political influence? And here I might say, Italy is of prominent influence to Europe. We have 2 major reports in Brussels. On the one hand, Enrico Letta, with his report, Single Market and Innovation First. It's a strong plaidoyer for a strong single market and innovation, fostering of innovation as biggest assets for Europeans' growth. And since a few weeks, we have also the Mario Draghi report on European competitiveness. This is a quite voluminous report, which on the one hand analyzes Europe's weaknesses with high energy cost, labor cost, a fragmented capital market, and on the other hand, high ambitions of Europe to deliver the green and digital deal. But on the other hand, that needs absolutely an unprecedented economic growth. He predicts that we need 5% of growth in Europe and an investment of 800 billion euro every year to achieve these goals. So he recommends deep reforms. He recommends an industrial action plan for Europe and a lot of European intervention to remain competitive as Europe against China and the US. So this is an important mindset, a new mindset in Brussels. What does that mean for our market? On the one hand, there is the common perception the European industrial giant is too big to fail. And for us, the automotive ecosystem is in the center of the attention. It is seen as one of Europe's top manufacturing sectors, providing jobs and growth. Competitiveness of the production process is at the center of the attention. The EU goal is to keep the existing industrial installations in Europe. Fair enough, and that is, of course, an important goal. On the other hand, the risks for us, for you all, is that the EU policies and legislations will be designed in the next 5 years unilaterally for vehicle manufacturers, that there is the mindset to help European industrial champions to grow, especially the large vehicle manufacturers. We have already had the first confusion between alleviating regulatory burden, cutting red tape, which is good, but car manufacturers saying, do deregulation, get rid of regulation which is for the aftermarket. We had already the first article from vehicle manufacturers using now the new mindset. And the independent aftermarket operators, so we, all of us, could be considered just as an extension of the growth generated by the vehicle manufacturers. So the mindset could be, oh, if we pamper vehicle manufacturers, then this is also healthy indirectly for the aftermarket. So this is a real threat, and this is not our style to create artificial fears. No, at all. But this is definitively now a new uphill battle which we have to face. Now, these are our new interlocutors in Brussels at the Commission: Henna Virkkunen for digital, Stéphane Séjourné for the industrial strategy. He's also vice president, so France will have an important say in the future also on this setting. Apostolos Tsitikostas from Greece, designated for transport, and also important for us, Madame Ribera for competition. So these are commissioner designated. They are currently going through the hearings in the European Parliament, so still need to be confirmed. So they're currently grilled by the Parliament. Now, what is the way forward? It is absolutely important and crucial that our independent aftermarket sector will be an integral part of the automotive industry strategy. So we have to demonstrate this. We also have to demonstrate that we contribute substantially to Europe's growth and innovation, to its competitiveness, social welfare, and affordable mobility. Without this demonstration, we will not be considered in the Brussels microcosm. And we must insist that the European Union includes us as not only aftermarket, but perhaps as a new label. We, as the vehicle lifecycle solutions industry, we must be an integral part of the industrial action plan for the automotive sector 2024-2029. That must be our goal. Now, how can we do this? We as FIGIEFA have worked in the last months hard to be prepared for this, because we have anticipated this coming. So we have a new FIGIEFA manifesto summarizing the most important political claims. And when we say claims, we always say framework conditions for your sector, for us. We have commissioned a new study from Roland Berger, which is fresh news since a few weeks, an independent automotive panorama study. I will come to this back in a moment. But also in conjunction with CLEPA, and credit to CLEPA, who has initiated this study. The CLEPA is the Association of European Parts Suppliers. So we have a competitiveness report about what are the key indicating or the key influential factor for our competitiveness in the next years. Let me go into the details. The European Independent Automotive Panorama Study examines indeed our IAM, for the translators, independent aftermarkets, our relevance for Europe, our contribution to the competitiveness of the automotive industry and beyond, our contribution to affordable, sustainable mobility. And Roland Berger suggests also a strategic repositioning and rebranding of our market. I will give you a sneak preview of this report, but of course I cannot do this in these few minutes, but I cordially invite you to get this report. You will get the link and QR code in a few minutes, and of course the slides will be distributed. So this report indeed looks not only at, or looks in particular at the usage of the vehicle. On the one hand, there are 10.5 million vehicles sold in the EU every year. But on the other hand, the big part means the aftermarket takes care of the lion part. We take care every day of almost 280 million vehicles in use. Most of the vehicles are on average over 12 years old. And a household in Europe has to spend 15,000 euro in repair and maintenance costs, not labor included. So these are big figures. So that means very often when Brussels looks at the automotive industry, they look very much at the production side and they underestimate and underrate our market, so all of us. We want to change that. That is why, and this slide will come back in a moment, we have looked at the size of our market. The size is, the question is, where are the parts sold? Where are the vehicles serviced? And it shows that 62% of all parts sold, of the parts installed, where indeed the major part of vehicle owners go for maintenance and repairs, is in the independent aftermarket. And that is in particular relevant for the vehicles over 4 years old. So 70% of the EU's fleets are serviced and maintained in our market, and that's big numbers. Also now, and we looked into the Eurostat figures, I've sent a statistics company to verify the figures, which are always used by car manufacturers. Car manufacturers pretend in Brussels that they create over 12, almost 13 million jobs. And when we looked behind the surface, 5.9 million jobs are construction and transportation jobs, taxi drivers, lorry drivers, tram drivers, metro drivers, bus and underground workers. Construction, road construction, so these jobs are not dependent directly from the vehicle industry, but the car manufacturers use always these figures to demonstrate their importance. But when we looked in closer to these figures, we found out that out of the remaining almost 7 million jobs, the real automotive jobs, 19%, 1.3 million, are directly employed by the vehicle manufacturing, and these are the figures which also the vehicle manufacturers use. 1.6 million jobs are directly related to parts manufacturing, but the biggest share is the automobile use. That means the dealers, the authorized and independent repairers, leasing companies, parts distributors, data publishers, you are predominantly part of the automobile use. And when we take away the pure dealerships, still 3.2 million jobs relate to the automotive aftermarket. And we believe that these figures must be promoted in Brussels to demonstrate our importance. Now, the study indeed looks at the automotive sector, at our contribution to the industrial competitiveness, our contribution to the society and sustainability. I would like to invite you to indeed download the report or to go to the Roland Berger website. Having said that, what are the threats coming upon us? And here we are with the second study, the Barrel study, also very fresh in its publication. The study examined which are the key factors which determine our competitiveness in the next years, to try to predict the evolution of the aftermarket and how key influential factors are capable of changing the dynamics in the European aftermarket. They examined 8 European countries, seven European countries, and the findings are, or the influencing factors which have been examined are, number one, an increasing number of captive parts, parts which are made artificially captive by car manufacturers, tier 1 parts which should be available, which are not. It could be industrial property rights, it could be, however, parts coding, which is increasingly a problem, so that parts which were normally or which should be available in our market are not any longer available, or we cannot use them any longer. Cybersecurity. We as FIGIEFA, we have been working at the United Nations level. We were party to when the cybersecurity measures were elaborated. And I'm always saying, I mean, we are a big defender of Brussels. A lot of good things came from Brussels, opening up markets, legislation against monopolies. But at United Nations level, we don't have European Parliament, we don't have European Commission, we have only direct interests of member states, also political actors. It's a very difficult level to work there. So the new cybersecurity requirements can be implemented by vehicle manufacturer in a black box, in a proprietary manner. And that means that we cannot any longer, or there's a threat that we are not able any longer to communicate with the vehicle, that parts will be blocked because they cannot speak the cybersecurity management language from the vehicle manufacturers. We have been working on this as FIGIEFA and have made proposals on how to solve this. Repair and maintenance information, number 3, and OBD data. You might have heard from the so-called security gateways, which block currently the access to the OBD port. We have lawsuits here currently ongoing. Some have been decided already by the European Court of Justice, so also a big threat. Then software updates, which are not always possible in the independent workshops, also an issue which we need to solve. And of course, the access, number 5, to the telematics data, the real-time monitoring of the vehicle and its live data, and the live communication management with the vehicle to anticipate repair, to do remote monitoring, remote diagnostics, which is also still in suspense because we do not have managed to get in the last political term a legislation to access to in-vehicle data. Now, the Barrel study now has analyzed 2 scenarios. Scenario 1, car manufacturers' dominance, no legislation, and scenario 2, market liberalization. That means Brussels would indeed address the problems which you have seen before. And you can see that indeed there's a baseline scenario that there is a risk that alone for these 7 countries, there will be 40 billion additional consumer costs for repair and maintenance and collision repair in these 7 countries. I don't go into details, but you will find all of this in the Barrel study. Each factor is examined in greater detail. But the message is, of course, here, it shows that à la longue, up to 2035, the independent aftermarket would be very much squeezed out of segment 1 and 2 as one big example. We have a fairly above market share currently about 30%, but when we talk about the phasing in of new vehicles which will grow, you see that we will be squeezed out and vehicle manufacturers get into this segment. So this study is a big plaidoyer to Brussels to look at these problems in order to ensure a balance of power and to ensure affordable mobility. And what is FIGIEFA doing? We are indeed currently working with the European Commission on exactly these features, and you can believe me, these are complex issues, but we are working concretely on a claim and concrete proposals on how to maintain, the MVBR, the Motor Vehicles Block Exemption Regulation. This is our mother regulation, ensuring the basic freedom to sell and purchase spare parts. We are currently in discussion with the European Commission to address the problems highlighted by the Barrel study, the increasing coding of parts, how to ensure, on the one hand, cybersecurity protection, but allowing parts fitting and repair and maintenance at the same time. We are still working on the connected cars to get access to telematics, real-time data. This has not been solved. And in general, the repairability of vehicles, because we have been able to demonstrate that the repair of high-value traction batteries and very new, the impact of gigacasting, where the car is moduled in big modules and not any longer in small parts and components which can be repaired, that these new trends stop the repairability and can lead to a total loss of a vehicle even after a minor damage. So we are on a way to a car, on a throwaway car, so to speak. And this is, of course, a very serious threat. So to conclude, you as Italy, you are an absolutely important country in the EU, two prominent representatives who are the pacemakers at present in Brussels, and your support, each of your individual support to the European federations is important. We are acting at Brussels level, but of course ADIRA is acting to the ministries here in Italy and towards the parliamentarians sitting in the European Parliament. So that is why my plaidoyer is to support a strong ADIRA and a strong FIGIEFA to defend your framework business conditions. Many thanks.